Hi guys, welcome to the Wrestling Retrospective, and in today's episode of Main Event Memories, I'm doing my review of TNA Bound For Glory 2007. Starting off, we had LAX, so Hernandez and Homicide. They defeated Triple X, Senshi, and Elix Skipper. And yeah, this was a really fun match. You can't really go wrong with Ultimate X, in my opinion. Most of the Ultimate X matches are pretty good, whether it's in a fun way or like a really good match way. They're all like kind of unique to TNA, and I like the fact that TNA have like a lot of their own type of matches. LAX controlled for the most part. Hernandez was a great addition for this one because I didn't actually know the card going in or anything like that, or know any of the results because my TNA memory isn't as good as my WWE and AEW one. So yeah, I like the fact that someone massive like Hernandez, who wouldn't be associated with Ultimate X because he's more for the X division, but then he played a really good role in this match. Saying that though, Senshi for me was the MVP. He took it to Hernandez a lot, and yeah, he just seemed to be involved in the majority of the action going on. Skipper did a crossbody off the top of the scaffolding to Hernandez, and then very quickly afterwards took a net breaker from Homicide off the ropes that lead to the X. So resulting, they were two pretty big bumps, like not long after one another. A small detail that I really like: Homicide was stuck in the Tree of Woe position, and Senshi kind of stood and forced himself down on Homicide's knee, which brought him up, and then Senshi did the stomp on, I don't know what they call it. Alberto Del Rio does it a lot, Kalisto does it. It's like where they bring themselves up in the turnbuckle and they stomp them back down again. It makes the move look really good, because obviously Homicide is coming up to check on his knee, and then Senshi stomps on him, and it doesn't make it look as goofy as other wrestlers who just hold themselves in that position until the move's done. But yeah, I would have never have thought that Hernandez was going to be the one that's going to pick up the win. You know, obviously with his weight and his height, I thought that he would be the one protecting Homicide as he went across to get the X. But no, this was a really fun match to start, a great way to kind of get going in such a big show for TNA, and yeah, I was fully for it. I really did like this one. Following that, we had the fight for the right, and you're gonna have to bear with me with this one. This one has a lot of details to it, but 16 wrestlers fight on the outside of the ring to get into the ring in the kind of reverse battle royal thing that TNA do, which isn't complicated at all. And then the eight people that get in first then have an 8-man battle royal, and then the last two have a one-on-one match. So the participants were Jimmy Rave, Lance Hoyt, Shark Boy, Havoc, Petey Williams, Frankie Kazarian or Kaz, Sanjay Dutt, the Motor City Machine Guns, so Alex Shelley and Chris Sabin, the Voodoo King Mafia, who I can't remember their names in TNA, but it's Road Dogg and Billy Gunn, James Storm, Eric Young, Robert Roode, Chris Harris, and Junior Fatu, who people know as Rikishi. Yeah, it's as confusing as it seems. So Fatu, Storm, Hoyt, Young, Roode, Kazarian, Shelley, and Sabin all progress to the actual battle royal. They were the first 8 that got in the ring first. Storm got eliminated immediately, which was really funny because he spent the whole outside part hidden behind the announce table and then jumped in at the last minute. So him getting eliminated first and by Eric Young was quite funny. Yeah, the concept is really weird. So it's pretty much for the places in tournament. So there's a tournament for the number 1 contendership for the World Championship, and so they're all going to fight each other anyway, but now it's figuring out the slots of which people come in. So the first eliminator faces the winner, then it's 2nd versus 7th, 3rd versus 6th, and 5th versus 4th. The big, as I said, it wasn't clear what, or at least at the time, it wasn't clear what the winner of this match got. It turns out it was just bragging rights, which, I mean, fair enough, but it just seemed really weird to put this on a pay-per-view, especially a major pay-per-view like Bound For Glory. The biggest talking point, I guess, for this match was the fact that Chris Sabin and Alex Shelley were eliminated in the positions where they'd have to face each other in the tournament. I can imagine that was a really good match. I haven't seen the episodes of Impact to see if it was good or not. But the last two in the ring were Bobby Roode and Eric Young. The match didn't last very long. It was nothing special. Young stole the win with a roll-up. kind of defining the odds. He was nowhere near favourite to maybe even getting in the tournament, let alone win this whole thing. But it makes sense because Eric Young at this point was kind of a comedy character, so yeah, it kind of makes sense that he would steal a victory here. Overall, the concept is a lot. Like, it's just a lot to follow all at once. The match, though, it was kind of fun. Like, to a degree, it was interesting who was going to get where, but in the outside to the inside, Battle Royal is just really funny. A Battle Royal, anyway, is quite fun to watch, and the match was very quick, but that was kind of to be expected with them already going through technically 2 matches. Yeah, it was just kind of, it was never going to be a great match, but you know, it was just a bit of fun to have second on the card. The placement of it was quite good, but yeah, there was no quality really to it. After that, AJ Styles and Tomko defeated Ron Killings and Consequences Creed with Pac-Man Jones on the outside to win the World Tag Team Championships. And the thing about this match was Pac-Man Jones was supposed to be in the match, but his NFL obligations meant that he couldn't be in the match, so Consequences Creed took his spot in the match. But yeah, Ron Killings and Consequences Creed. Seeing R-Truth and Xavier Woods tag together in 2007 is pretty crazy, but also pretty cool to be fair. It was a solid tag team match. Tomko looked especially dominant in this one. Creed had a really decent showing in his TNA debut. AJ Styles had his moments, and Ron Killings was kind of just there for the most part. He didn't really do anything of that note. Yeah, it was quite funny seeing Earl Hebner get distracted by money being thrown into the ring by AJ Styles or Pac-Man Jones, or like between the two of them. There was just money everywhere. He was too distracted picking it up. He cost Killings and Creed the match. It was quite funny because of Earl Hebner and stuff that he's done in the past. Tomko had a really cool moment where he had, I believe it was Ron Killings, or it was one of the opponents. He had him up in a gorilla press. He then dropped them down, caught them across his chest, and did a fall-away slam. That was also, that looked really, really good. And it was really good to see like Tomko have a really good showing here. It's like he didn't really do that much in WWE, and he was more or less doing the same stuff in TNA as he was doing in WWE, or would do the same stuff he was doing in WWE with Christian Cage, but they added AJ Styles to the mix. And yeah, it worked out really well here. Tomko had a very good showing. The title change made perfect sense as, you know, if Pac-Man's got other obligations to do, they're going to have to take the titles off him. AJ Styles' shooting star press to the outside was really, really awesome. And yeah, the match overall was fine. There's much worse tag team matches. There's also a lot better tag team matches. It was very run-of-the-mill, very Ron Seal. Yeah, it was just kind of an average tag team match. But say Tomko and AJ Styles had a really good showing throughout, and the title change made perfect sense. Following that, Jay Lethal defeated Christopher Daniels to retain the X Division Championship, and this was a great match. They had good chemistry together, the pacing was done really well, and it was fairly evenly contested. There was an interesting dynamic as Jay Lethal started off really quick and was all over Christopher Daniels. He did some great high-flying moves, and it was very high-paced offense. However, Christopher Daniels was kind of slowing it down a lot. He was doing more big impact moves, like a 2 scoop slams onto the barricade and a Death Valley driver, which isn't the style I associate with Christopher Daniels. I expect him to be like fast and quick paced, just like Jay Lethal and like the AJ Styles type as well. Jay Lethal did a lovely full Nelson suplex like near the end of the match. I thought was really cool. I thought Christopher Daniels' moonsault was going to be it, but it got a very close 2 count. Jay Lethal, every time I get this messed up. So Jay did a nice lethal combination off the rope / turnbuckle to get the win. Daniels looked really good in defeat because Jay Lethal had to change his finisher up a little bit to make it that bit more impactful. But yeah, this was a really good match. I'd probably say by this point, this was probably the best match on the show. I don't think it was the best match on the show overall, but to the point of when this went on, I thought it was a very, very good match. After that, we had the Steiner Brothers defeat Team 3D in a 2 out of 3 tables match. 2 out of 3 falls tables match. But yeah, first of all, this, like, to be fair, the first fall, it was just the Steiners brawling with Team 3D all through the arena. They were in the crowd for the most part of the first fall. But yeah, and then Team 3D got the 3D through the table. God, that was going to be confusing. To give them the 1-0 lead. Most of this, there was no actual wrestling involved. It was just a lot of brawling. It was very scrappy. It was very just punches and strikes until this table spot came along. Scott Steiner did a lovely Frankensteiner to Bully Ray, or Brother Ray? I don't think, I know as Bully Ray in TNA, but to make it 1-1. God, this whole thing is like a mess. Even my notes are a mess. Yeah, and then the table, there was a point where the Team 3D were trying to put Scott Steiner on a table and the table just flopped over and broke. So they kind of just didn't count that and they threw the table away and went for the actual spot. I was interested to see why the Motor City Machine Guns got involved. Obviously, a lot of this is out of context for me, so I don't know whether Team 3D were feuding with the Motor City Machine Guns or the Machine Guns had an alliance with the Steiner brothers or something, but they ended up costing Team 3D the match. And yeah, Steiner brothers won this one 2-1. It wasn't a classic, as I said. It was very, very scrappy. It was very all over the place. There was really, I don't know, there was like, this was by far the weakest match on the card, just because there was really nothing going on. It was just 4 guys scrapping until 3 tables broke, essentially. It wasn't great. I understand that like it's the Dudleys, the Team 3D's match, and they wanted to beat them at their own game. But yeah, no, this really wasn't that great. As it was fun for the most part, just because it's like, you know, it's fun seeing guys scrap, I guess. But yeah, as far as like a wrestling match goes, it really wasn't that good. As I said, probably the weakest match on the card. Following that, Gail Kim won a 10 knockout gauntlet match to become the first ever Knockouts champion. And overall, this match was okay. It was another kind of weak match on the card, I'm not going to lie. Mainly because it's a 2-woman roster at this point. Like, do not get me wrong. The Knockouts and TNA Women's Division improves vastly in the next few years. So, like, I'm not worried about, like how women are treated and all that kind of stuff. But the roster at this point was just Awesome Kong and Gail Kim. And yeah, people did eventually improve. Nowadays, the match was kind of like AEW's Casino Gauntlet matches, except it wasn't one fall to a finish. It was over the top rope for elimination. I think this match was just booked poorly. We got to see the beautiful people, so Angelina Love and Velvet Sky as kind of them very early in TNA. So Velvet Sky is Talia Madison and Angelina Love is Angel Williams. We also saw ODB being titled as like a new person in TNA is really weird to me, because I associate her as like one of the knockouts in TNA. She was there for what felt like so long. But yeah, looking at the field, you've got to believe the favourites going into the match were Gail Kim, Awesome Kong, and maybe Jackie Moore, who was also known as Jacqueline in WWE. It was great to see how the Knockout Champion was made so late on in TNA, just because like anyway, WWE have had their women's title back for quite a few years at this point, and I understand that maybe TNA didn't have the personnel for it, they didn't have the amount of women that they needed. But to see that, like, and knowing that it vastly improved to a point where I'd probably say the Knockouts division was better than the WWE Women's division at one point, maybe even at multiple points. It was good to see that, like to see the start of it, see where people were before they got really big. But yeah, like, one thing I didn't understand is that the timer for people coming in was starting as people were still entering. Like, Awesome Kong was like halfway through her entrance when the 30-second timer started going off, which looked really, really bad. Kong got eliminated way, way earlier than I assumed she was going to be. There was like 2 or 3 entrants still to make it into the match when she got eliminated, which I thought was really weird. I thought she would have been one of the last 2. But yeah, so other than that, like, as soon as Awesome Kong got eliminated and Jackie Moore got eliminated pretty early and by Awesome Kong, you knew that Gail Kim was going to be the winner here. Then we saw it come down to the last 2, and one thing TNA do very consistently is the last 2 in a Battle Royal will just face each other in a normal match. That came down to Gail Kim and Roxy, and yeah, the match itself was just okay. Like, it was very... I don't know, it was very scrappy. Again, there was a lot of just pin attempt after pin attempt after pin attempt. Kim eventually got the win, and yeah, it made perfect sense. She won with an air raid crash, which I don't know whether it was her finisher or whether it was just a move she did and then they got the win and maybe they were running low on time. But yeah, it really wasn't great, this one. Like I said, it was, again, one of the weakest ones on the card. I don't think it was as weak as Scott Steiner and Team 3D, just because that just really wasn't a match at all, whereas this one did have some wrestling going on at points. But yeah, not a great way to start for the women's division. I know that Awesome Kong and Gail Kim went on to have a very good feud over the Knockout Championship, so I'm sure like things did, and as I said, as we know, things vastly improved with the Knockouts division, so I'm not like bashing on it too much, but the match itself just wasn't that good. After that, Samoa Joe defeated Christian Cage and Matt Morgan was the outside enforcer. And yeah, I mean, it's Christian Cage and Samoa Joe. Was it ever going to be a bad match? Like, it was fairly evenly contested. The pacing was done really well. I loved how Joe was the high flyer in this one with two absolutely solid dives to the outside. One through the ropes doing a forearm and one over the top rope. It was so sick. I love it when Samoa Joe does that kind of stuff. I'd probably say that Joe maybe had the tad more control, but it was like 55 to 45. It was very, very close. Cage clearly did his homework on Samoa Joe as he escaped the Karavuda clutch very quickly and got out the muscle buster very quickly. Not early in, but like into the second half of the match. Matt Morgan stopping the interference from Tomko and AJ Styles was done very well. It didn't play directly into the finish of the match, which I very much enjoyed. I don't mind there being this kind of cheating and tomfoolery going on if it doesn't directly lead into the finish every single time. I did think though that Christian Cage had it after the low blow to Samoa Joe into the Unprettier after the interference, but Joe kicked out, which then added to the match of like what is Cage gonna have to do to win this one. The muscle buster looked so uncomfortable to take, like honestly, especially like when he was doing it very consistently in TNA. I know that he kind of stopped doing it after the Tyson Kidd stuff in WWE, but man, it was so uncomfortable to take. But no, this was a huge win for Joe in my opinion, especially by tap out against the legend like Christian Cage. The crowd was absolutely electric for this one from the beginning. They were fully behind Samoa Joe, and yeah, they really came to life in like this last third of the show. But no, this was a really, really good match. I'd probably say this was best match of the night so far. Again, I think like the main event was probably the best match, but this was very, very good, and yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. After that, Abyss defeated Black Reign, Rhino and Raven in a 4-way Monsters Ball match, and I love the Monsters Ball match. The brutalness, the bloodiness, the violence, I am fully for it. It's one of my favourite match stipulations. And speaking of love, Abyss is one of my favourite TNA guys of all time. I'd probably say he is my favourite TNA guy of all time. He's a guy that got me into these super crazy violent matches. Not super crazy matches, he's a different guy. But the crazy violent matches, he's the one that got me into him. Black Reign looks so silly. Like, it's a weird name. The rat thing is weird. Like, I was just like, okay, why has he got a rat? Is it going to play into anything? It didn't. He just has a rat because. But yeah, from Goldust to this, to the stuff he was doing in WCW, I believe when he was 7. Yeah, Dustin has had no luck with gimmick characters, and yeah, I can't believe it took so long for people to just go, well, why don't we just have him be Dustin Rhodes in it with AEW? And yeah, I say that's probably been the best thing he's done. I know that a lot of people love Goldust. Personally, I'm not a fan of it, but yeah, back to the match. A brutal bump. Rhino did a gore through a wall. It was more or less just like some cardboard or some plasterboard advertising the show, but he landed like straight on the floor. It looked awful, like for someone essentially just doing a really like a more intense spear. There was a cool spot where Raven did an elbow drop through a table onto Abyss, but then like the kind of, I don't want to say like a platform underneath also gave way, so Abyss and Raven both landed really awkwardly. Raven was holding his arm a lot afterwards. I don't know whether he hurt his elbow there. The black hole slam into the glass and tacks mixture that Raven came up with in the middle of the ring was awful, and it was a brutal finish to the match. And the fact that Raven just stayed laying there, like, of course he did, it's Raven, and I know that, like, you know, he's one of the like most ECW of all the ECW people, but yeah, for me, there is a lot better Monsters Ball matches out there. This one wasn't great. It felt really random. Even the video package for the match didn't really show why all 4 of these guys were going into this Monsters Ball match. So there really didn't feel like there was any intensity as far as the feud goes as to why they're having such a brutal match. Yeah, I feel like just no DQ and just between random 4 people would have sufficed, but putting the Monsters Ball branding on it, I felt like it was just for Abyss, which I get to a point, but yeah, it just felt very, very out of nowhere. And yeah, I would have liked some storyline stuff in there, because some of the other Monsters Ball matches where Abyss is in feuds and kind of there's reasons why there's a Monsters Ball match make them so much better. So yeah, kind of disappointed with like how this one went, but like at the same time, I loved the violence behind it and stuff, and I love the fact that Abyss got the win. Apparently this was his first Monsters Ball win, which was really cool. So yeah, there was a lot of likes and dislikes. It was fine for the most part. I just wanted a little bit more out of it, to be fair. And finally, in the main event, Sting defeated Kurt Angle to become the new TNA World Heavyweight Champion. And yeah, this was a great match. It was a good back and forth, obviously, between two of the very, very best. But after the first interference, I wasn't sure who was going to get the win here. So that really added to my overall thoughts of the match. Sting definitely had the mental advantage. The first half of the match was majoritively controlled by Sting, which I didn't expect. But then Sting was countering Kurt Angle really, really well. You could tell that he'd kind of watched tape on him, but no, this was a really good dynamic between these two. It's not often that you see the heel quicken up the pace of the match, which is what we saw here. Kurt Angle was kind of the faster of the two and was kind of doing more big impact but also quick moves as well, which I assume is because Sting prefers that slow and methodical pace, which makes perfect sense within the match. Once Angle got on a roll, he was so good. Like, honestly, there's a reason why he's seen as like one of the best overall, but especially in the early to mid 2000s, he was definitely at his very best, in my opinion, when he was the wrestling machine in WWE. And just before that, pretty much once he was bald, he went just absolutely insane with good matches. But yeah, there was a moment where Sting countered the ankle lock into the Scorpion Deathlock, and it was so smoothly done. Even I was like, holy shit, this is great. Kurt Angle doing a 450 knee drop was nuts. When he went to the top rope, I just assumed he was going to do like a headbutt or some kind of splash. No, he pulled out a 450 knee drop, which is just like, I would never lose him to do that. Honestly, TNA Kurt Angle is just, he hits different. I think there's a reason why we call him Perk Angle, even though like he doesn't like it. But yeah, all the interference helped this match, in my opinion. The involvement of Karen Angle, I suppose, at this point, and Kevin Nash, I feel like really helped this one. Yeah, just a really, really good match. There was a solid finish to it, and yeah, both these guys worked so well together. I know they go on to have many rematches for the world title as well, and yeah, maybe we'll check them out on future episodes of the main event memories. But yeah, no, I really enjoyed this one. I'd probably say this one was match of the night, but Samoa Joe, Christian Cage, Jay Lethal and Christopher Daniels were not far behind it. But yeah, I really enjoyed this main event, and yeah, I mean, Sting winning the world title made perfect sense. It is Sting. He's kind of I associated him more with TNA than I did WCW. Like for the majority of my wrestling fandom life. So yeah, no, this made perfect sense to me, and yeah, it was a really, really good match. So those are my thoughts and opinions on TNA Bound for Glory 2007. Do put down below in the comments below what you remember from the show. If you've watched it recently, what you thought of the show, what your favourite match was. I'm interested to see kind of what stuff people think of TNA stuff, and do suggest some TNA pay-per-views down below in the comments. I'm starting with this one in a few, I think next month at some point. I am doing Destination X 2012, as that is like the highest rated TNA pay-per-view on cagematch.net, so I'm going to check that one out. But yeah, any other TNA pay-per-views that you think I should check out, do put down in the comments below, and I will try and get them done. But yeah, so this event overall, I thought was really good. I thought there was some dodgy moments. I thought that the Fight for the Right match was really complicated, maybe too much. Women's Gauntlet wasn't great, and the Steiners versus Team 3D wasn't great either. But they were like the three matches that did let this one down. But other than that, the matches were really good. There was a lot of great matches on it as well. You know, Angle and Sting, Christian Cage and Samoa Joe, and Jay Lethal and Christopher Daniels were very, very good. So yeah, there's a bit of everything. I understand why people think this is like one of the examples of TNA showing everything all in one show. But you say, I feel like there's probably better TNA pay-per-views out there. I feel like there's better Bound for Glory to cover. But yeah, I really enjoyed this one, and yeah, I'm hoping to cover more TNA stuff on Main Event Memories going forward. So I said, do suggest some in the comments, I'll get around to them. But yeah, there's a lot of stuff coming on the channel as well as far as current stuff goes. There is obviously coverage of Bound for Glory and Crown Jewel currently going on, with predictions, I believe, going out a few days before this, and reviews of both Bound for Glory 2025 and Crown Jewel 2025 coming up in a couple of days as well, so do stick around for those. But yeah, thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys in the next one.